welcome you to our seminar on the comprehensive economic and trade agreement between EU and Canada. We are obviously very pleased to see such a great turnout for tonight's event. Almost sold out. Founded in 1995, the Canadian-Croatian Chamber of Commerce is a not-for-profit network of Croatian Canadian businesses and professionals that has emerged as a voice of the Croatian Canadian business in Canada. Canada has one of the largest and most successful Croatian communities outside of Croatia, and the Canadian-Croatian Chamber of Commerce brings together businesses and professionals with strategic relationships that are economic, commercial, political, and cultural in both Canada and Croatia. In the last 19 years, the Chamber has grown steadily, as has its influence increased exponentially within the society at large. At this time, I would like to introduce our honorary guests. I ask each of them to please stand and be recognized as I call your name. First, Ambassador of the Republic of Croatia to Canada, His Excellency, Mr. Veselko Grubišić. Consul General of the Republic of Croatia, Mr. Ljubinko Matešić. Member of Parliament for Etobicoke Centre, Mr. Ted Opitz. Member of Parliament for Mississauga East Cooksville, Mr. Vladislav Lizon. Professor Mladen Vranic, member of Order of Canada and Order of Ontario, was supposed to be here, but I don't see him. He may be late or he missed this great opportunity. I would also like to thank our members of Canadian-Croatian Chamber of Commerce, without whose enthusiasm and efforts this evening would not have been organized. And they are Lynda Zugec, Ljuba Đurđević, Branko Šarčanin, and Juanita Kelava. The proposed free trade agreement between Canada and the European Union is of a great importance to both parties to this agreement. For that reason, the Canadian-Croatian Chamber of Commerce has organized this seminar with the hope that it will contribute to better understanding of business opportunities which are being created by this agreement.
Thank you, Krešo, Mr. President, Consul General. Here are two of my good friends, Ted and Vladislav. They are always there for Croatia whenever I need them. Honourable members of Parliament, and I would like to thank them for what they are doing to Croatia. And Ted Opitz is also President of Canadian-Croatian Parliamentary Friendship Group, and Vladislav is the Vice President. Therefore, they have a role, and they are really working hard. This year, almost 20 members of Parliament and senators visited Croatia. Two Canadian ministers visited Croatia, and two Croatian ministers visited Canada. But tonight I am also the ambassador of the youngest EU member state, the 28th one. Therefore, I will be talking more about EU-Canada trade, their economic relations. I saw here is a former ambassador of Canada to EU, and he was instrumental at the beginning of the comprehensive trade agreement. Therefore, the full name of it is the comprehensive economic and trade agreement between European Union and Canada. Maybe if you ask Canadian, they would start between Canada and the European Union. Next slide, please. Well, if you can just bear with me for a second, you know everything about Canada. 10 provinces, 3 territories, 2 official languages, 35 million inhabitants, almost 10 million square kilometers, and a very high GDP per capita. But for the EU, Canada is relatively small but very rich market. If you look at European Union, 28 member states, 24 official languages, including Croatian, and one of the language that is spoken, but it's a small language, is also Irish, Gelga. Therefore, that was the 23rd language before Croatian came into. Therefore, European Union has 500 million inhabitants, 4.5 billion square kilometers. As you can see, it's smaller than half of the Canada. GDP per capita is 34, average GDP per capita is $34,000. Unfortunately, Croatia is far below. And not the lowest in the EU, Bulgaria is still the lowest. Luxembourg has very high income, Germany is lower, Germany's income per capita is lower than Canadian. And then, as you can see, EU is a vast integrated market. Its annual import alone are worth more than Canada's GDP. Next slide, please. This is President Barroso. When I now, as ambassador of Croatia, I have to also say President Barroso, and this is what he said. This is very important. We must also pursue our active and assertive trade agenda. It is about linking us closer to growing third markets and guaranteeing our place in the global supply chain. As you can see, at the end, he said these two will demand our full attention in the month to come, notably with the transatlantic trade and investment partnership with the US and negotiations with Canada and Japan. This was September, just a month before the deal was struck between Prime Minister Harper and President Barroso. Next slide, please. But it would be important that Canadian CETA is done before one with the US. Okay. As you can see, 15% of the world trade in goods. This does not include services. EU does. And then it's the largest importer. As you can see, EU imports more than 2,000 billion euros per year, each year. Therefore, there is a huge opportunity for everybody. Also, it's a first exporter. When this was done in 2012, Croatia was not yet a member. Therefore, it's not calculated, but the amount would be not significantly larger. Next slide, please. Therefore, EU trade and investment policy basic features are being the leading trade region, has a strong interest in open markets, clear regulatory frameworks, responsibility towards its own citizens, EU citizens, responsibility to the rest of the world, and need to reinforce EU competitiveness on. Go to Croatia, especially now, in 2 years' time, this is going to be in force. We have lots of incentives currently in Croatia. When you start new companies, when you employ new people, and if you are going to produce something, there are also incentives in the EU. And not only that, now the economic diplomacy in Croatia, we have traffic lights. Therefore, if I do not answer to your question, or if somebody in Croatia doesn't answer to the question, it's going to be yellow and then red, and then his boss is going to ask him, why didn't you answer? Actually, I hope nobody is going. Therefore, now, I know a lot of people tried, and some succeeded, some didn't, but this is a different climate now, and I encourage you, whatever you have, contact the embassy, and I and my collaborators and Consul General here and his people will try to help you the best we can. Thank you very much.
Our next speakers are Mr. Ted Opitz and Mr. Ladislav Lizon. Both of them were elected in 2011 and are members of parliament. Mr. Opitz and Mr. Lizon are chair and co-chair of the Canada-Croatia Parliamentary Friendship Group. Please welcome them.
Thank you very much. Excellencies, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for welcoming us here today. This is a great honor to be here. An ambassador, 149 countries with a foothold already in trade is good. And most of you know I served back in the day, and I spent a little bit of time in Croatia, so I'll tell you the chocolate, the beer, the Slivovitz, and everything is very good. And we'd like to see more of that traded here. So we'll work on that. But there's tremendous opportunities before both our countries with CETA. And thank you for all of the great figures here, because that means we don't have to do it now. And so the ambassador did all the hard work with the PowerPoint presentation. But the numbers belie a lot of other things too. There's a lot of efficiencies to be had. And as we can see, Croatia is a very young EU country right now, having just got in. We can see our Polish friends are here from the Polish Canadian Chamber of Commerce. And you know, that country has done well because they were a young EU partner at one point, and they're going to experience a tremendous amount of growth next year, and CETA on top of that is just going to help. So I'm very confident that Croatia is going to be able to benefit from that. And why? Well, first of all, Canada is a very diverse country. We have representatives of everybody, and in particular in terms of Europe, we have members of diasporas of all European nations here. So what do we share? You know, we share a lot of those language capabilities. We share the understanding of the culture. We share values: freedom, democracy, human rights, rule of law, gender equality, you know, balanced justice, all of that good stuff, which underlies in our foundations for good trade relationships. And so there's a lot of opportunity to work back and forth, especially with Croatia. And Croatia has a lot to offer. So where's some of the efficiencies going to come? Because this is a very early stage of this agreement right now. We do hope that it is provisionally ratified sooner rather than later, because we can start doing business now. Well, all of the translations are done, while all of the details are kicked out. Well, it goes through the European Parliament, and of course there is an election in May, which is then going to have to go through that process and then put it back on the agenda to ratify fully and finally. So that would be helpful. But what else does Europe need from Canada? I mean, we're, as you know, we're developing our energy resources too, and Europe is going to need a lot of energy. We give this back and forth, but as you know, we all read the papers and we all see what we're doing in our government. And so oil and gas is going to be developed, and Canada is going to be one of the leaders, because we are a very large country with a relatively small population in comparison to much of the world. We have capacity to grow food, and down the road that's going to be extremely important for everybody. But where else does that give efficiencies? The EU for Croatia itself is great for youth right now. Like a lot of the other countries that came in from the mid-90s till now, they benefited a lot by having their youth being very mobile around many of the European countries in Europe, and being able to establish roots there, jobs, create income which they could send back. And Croatian youth now have that ability. And we do hope, by the way, not just in Europe, that more Croatian youth come here. Just yesterday we launched the International Education Strategy in Canada, which is going to encourage way more foreign students to come to Canada, and we do hope a lot of those kids are going to be Croatian kids to be able to get that. And that's also going to lead to a path towards citizenship through something called the Canadian Experience Class. If you've been working here for a number of years, or if you've been accredited at a Canadian university under certain skills and trades, you're then eligible to apply for permanent residency into the Canadian Experience Class. Not that we want to steal your youth or all of your talent, but it's an option, and it's an opportunity for people to contribute to that. So a lot of those efficiencies come back and forth, but where else can Croatia contribute right now as well? A lot of that is in the knowledge field. You talked about robots, but we're also talking about when CETA gets ratified, or at least provisionally ratified, then Croatian companies can bid on jobs in Canada and on building contracts and all kinds of things fairly evenly as any other Canadian company has. And you did talk about TIVA, Excellency, where you know, TIVA's in Croatia, TIVA's in Canada and other places. Well, we also have something in place called NAFTA. And those countries that have, those businesses that have strategic partnerships here that can fairly trade and leverage NAFTA, that's an opportunity as well going down the road. So a lot of this has to do with innovation, entrepreneurship, and we're probably sitting in one of the flagship Croatian entrepreneurial centers, thanks to John Marion. We all know how entrepreneurial he is and what he's done with his business, and I know that the entire community can leverage this. as well. You've got a lot of knowledge in this room right now. You're all sitting here because you're interested in this and you want to look forward and you want to contribute to both building the bridges between Canada and Croatia as a diaspora and leveraging the opportunities that are coming all of our ways. It just makes us much, much stronger, because what does trade promote? It promotes wealth, it promotes jobs, it promotes mobility, it promotes knowledge exchange. And the ambassador showed the net benefits to both countries in terms of not just jobs, which all of our people need, because, you know, as most of you know, I was a soldier back in the day. You know, you have to look out several tactical bounds ahead to where you want to get to, right? Not just in front of your face, but you have to look out into the distance and be able to see, you know, where we're going to put people. What strategic plan do we have to employ them? What strategic plan do we have to shape that? Like, for example, the issue we have in Canada right now. There's a lot of kids getting master's degrees, BAs, and that sort of thing. But where's the sweet spot right now? Skills training, right? And community colleges and things like that. So there's a rethink on some of those things that are coming around, which all of us, whether it's in Croatia, whether it's in other European countries and Canada, have a lot to think about and a lot of things that we can share. Because
right now, there is already an opportunity for young people to go to other countries, including Canada, and we can help in that. We can help in arranging internships for people, for young people, that they can come, have an experience, get an experience, that when the time comes, there will be additional help to the implementation of the trade, of the free trade agreement. And, Your Excellency, you mentioned wine. I personally think that Croatians keep their good wine there. They don't want to ship it out. And of course, Ted mentioned that he was in the area as a soldier.
several samples.
I have to admit, I haven't visited Croatia since it became independent. I was there only once, long time ago, when it was still Yugoslavia. It was 1976. I was in my my early university years, and I really like it. I liked it. You know what? The country, I don't think it's changed. It's probably as beautiful as it was, and maybe more beautiful now. And I remember, besides the wine and the rakia or shivovica, there was, I don't know if it still exists, but there was a brandy called Cesar. I don't know if it still exists or not, but it's strong. But you know what? It also, the great advantage that Croatia has is geographical location. You can't beat that, you know. And you know, countries are where they are, but this is also an advantage that Croatia has, and I think they will take an advantage.
Our last speaker tonight is Ms. Lynda Zugec, the founder and managing director of the Workforce Consultants, an international human resources consulting firm which provides professional services to global markets. Her expertise is focused in the area of leadership development, and she has coached and trained leaders across North America, Europe, and Middle East. Lynda has served as an invited scholar under the European Commission, where she taught the master's and PhD students at the University of Bologna in Italy, which is very, very old, and the University of Coimbra in Portugal. A respected practitioner and scholar, she is frequently cited within the media, including outlets as Forbes, Fox Business, Fortune, CNN Money, and CBC News.
Thank you for the lovely introduction, Krešo. I'm not really sure what to say, actually, after all of that. But I did want to thank the Canadian-Croatian Chamber of Commerce, of course, without which we would not be here today. In addition, I wanted to thank all of you, because it's because of your presence today that we're here, and you are what's going to make the Canada-European Union Free Trade Agreement happen. I wanted to send a special thanks to someone who could not be with us here today, and that is Ambassador Louise Larocque. And she is, for those of you who are unfamiliar, she is the Canadian ambassador to Croatia and Kosovo. And it's because of her that I was actually invited. This is a photo. You might recognize the guy on the right. Anyone guess? Anyone guess? So essentially what had happened is Louise Larocque, Madame Louise Larocque, actually was really excited about the program that we had put together. And we're really excited about it as well. And so I received an invitation from Prime Minister Stephen Harper's office. And the invitation was to attend the viewing of the tabling of the Canada-European Union Free Trade Agreement in principle. And that was late last year in October 2013. So of course we have our lovely MP Ted Opitz, who you just heard from. And in the middle you'll see the Minister of International Trade, and that is Ed Fast. And you may recognize that individual to your right. I also have the technical summary here, if anyone is interested. So this is something that they were able to hand out during that day. And for those of you, I think some of the ones who are a little bit older among the crowd might need some glasses for it, as usual. But anyway, that's here for you, and we would be more than happy to provide you with extra copies. It's also available on the website. So why are we here? And the reason I stand before you today is to let you know that you can shape the Canada-European Union Free Trade Agreement. So you may say to me, Lynda, well, how am I supposed to do that? And I'm going to share with you a little of our story. And by the way, I mean that you can shape it regardless of whether you come from government, regardless of whether you come from industry, regardless of whether you come from education, or regardless of your background. You can help shape the agreement. So how did we become involved? So what I initially did is I sort of corralled my colleagues and I said, hey guys, let's get together. Let's think about the impact that the Canada-European Union Free Trade Agreement would have. So we went back and forth, and through a lot of discussion, we naturally came to the conclusion that it would involve commercial and economic interests. Then we decided to think about the individual level. And by individual, I mean employees, I mean professionals, and I mean students. And we thought, very similarly to what has been said today, that this could open doors for people to exchange knowledge and skills. So why will the Canada-EU Free Trade Agreement succeed? The Canada-EU Free Trade Agreement will succeed because of people. And I don't mean people that we will never see or we will never hear from. I mean people like you, I mean people like me, and I mean people like we. Once we determined it was about the people, I went back to my team and I said, okay guys, what are we gonna do? So we developed a goal. And I would suggest actually that you take this goal on as your own, revise it, adopt it, whatever you like. So our goal is to determine how we can bring our skill sets and knowledge together to further the potential of the Canada-European Union Trade Agreement for positive impact on the lives of individuals and organizations. Positive impact on the lives of individuals and organizations. Isn't that what it's about? So then we thought, well, it's about the people, and we want to utilize our skills to help people. Then we thought, this is what we need to do. We need to develop people. So what is crossing the globe? Because this, from all this resulted crossing the globe, and crossing the globe was born from our discussions and from our need to make individuals and organizations better. Crossing the Globe is a nonprofit organization that seeks to foster leadership development and knowledge exchange between Canada and the European Union. It's a pretty tall order, isn't it? But one which we're ready to take on. So then what did we do? Well, we realized it's about the people, we realized we want to develop people, and then we came to a conclusion. We realized that we needed to develop programs that would support the development of people. The thing I need to add to this is that work experience within different countries, it's what matters. If we're going to build those bridges and cement those ties, it's really about work experience within different countries.